Kangaroo Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Hi there, welcome to the COB. I'm Nadine Blaney.
I'm Juliette Sarli. Love to have your company on a day where once again we saw markets coming under somewhat pressure. Of course, US markets, I should say, coming back, Nadine, after that Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Still a lot of concern about what we're seeing in Davos and what these potential tariffs that President Trump is threatening could mean for overall investors.
You could call it a big bummer for the market. Soured sentiment, no doubt. So real concerns about whether this is a trade war. Are we on the cusp of a trade war? Is this more brinkmanship? Whatever. There is some pretty strong language being bandied about. But I don't know if you were listening, Juliette. I was speaking with Tony Sycamore. He said, technically, if we close above 87.50 here locally, that the uptrend would still be intact. So of course he looks at the market from a technical standpoint. And guess what? As we just approach 4 p.m. here in Sydney, 87.82, let's call it that. So yes, it's negative, but here's hoping.
Here's hoping indeed. And of course, if you look at other technicals, though, it has crossed below that 125-day moving average. This is what the market map looks like as we see sell-off in banks, but a lot of optimism, upside coming through in the materials sector, particularly amidst a lot of quarterly updates.
Yeah, it's been really fruitful for the local market, gold as well, as you can see. But, BHP, Rio Tinto, both out with their quarterlies and getting the tick of approval.
Yeah, getting to themes of the day, though, we touched there on the tariff turmoil. Interesting note coming through from Natixis saying that these Greenland tensions will not bruise markets for long.
Okay, so we will see. $5,000, here we come. Is that a question mark, or is it a sure bet with gold and platinum rising to fresh records overnight? Silver near an all-time peak. Of course, it is Greenland, but it's also the fact that we've seen this blow up in Japanese government debt. So that's also supporting that safe haven demand.
Absolutely. And on that note, this Katayama call for calm. So we have seen this call coming through from Japan's finance minister after we saw that rout in JGBs, a little bit more of a recovery coming through in the afternoon session.
Yeah, so for so-called super long debt, yields fell Wednesday mornings. That's this morning with the 40-year 10-year down 6.5 basis points. I mean, the bond market is where all these things, big things start and sometimes come to an end as well.
Absolutely. All right, let's get back to equities though and have a look at where the miners finished the day's trade. Rio was out with a quarterly update. Its share price up by more than 2%. BHP, which was out yesterday, up by more than 1%. And Fortescue looking pretty good too, getting back towards $23 a share.
It's pretty impressive that Rio's still up by 2.2%. We're seeing these gains for the likes of Fortescue and BHP because iron ore futures are extending losses in afternoon trade in China. Here's a bright spot. Let's think of other puns. Shining. Really helping to lift, or I should say mitigate some of the losses on market.
It's like we've done this before, Nadine. All right, let's have a look at the tech check or tech wreck. That was where we saw weakness and our tech sector, of course, falling. A lot of concerns, we touched on this yesterday as well, about disruption in the AI space, what this means for a lot of valuations for some of our tech companies. I would point out that Elfreda, who I think Andrew spoke to earlier today, but I spoke to last week, likes Technology One. That is her pick of the year, and they've actually put money out of Life 360 into Tech One.
Yeah, so that's Elfreda Yonkov. She is from Alfinity. You can find that online if you're interested. Very quality insights always coming from her. Rio, just quickly, its fourth quarter iron ore output hit a record. Copper production also beat estimates, though. Looking forward, while its 2026 guidance is being reaffirmed overall, expecting actually its copper production to retreat slightly.
Lynas had a good day, up 6%, 43% rise there in second quarter revenue.
In the uranium space, Paladin forecasting its FY26 production will come in at the top end of guidance, and the market really liking that one.
And Evolution Mining there also reaffirming its production guidance, lowering by 6% though its cost guidance.
The ACCC has, well, it's not yet approved Ampol's acquisition of EG Australia, saying that it requires further in-depth assessment.
You spoke to Australian Strategic Materials. That's very interesting. Rising, in fact, the best day ever. And you get that with a takeover proposal from a US firm worth about $450 million.
Yes, shortly that interview will be up online.
It's already out.
It is already. Aren't you guys busy bees?
Very busy out there.
But up 122%. I mean, this is just goes to show, how these stories can evolve and change. It feels very quickly, but they've been at it for quite some time. You want to listen to that interview if you're a small cap investor.
And Telix Pharmaceuticals, I think that was the stock of the day, wasn't it, on the call? And it hit its full year target, but shares under pressure a little bit there of concerns around its overall guidance. All right, let's speak of guidance, bring into the fray, is that the right term? Mark Gardner from MPC Markets. You've given us a very interesting little infographic that we're going to pull up about some of these risks. Nadine and I touched on them, but what you're seeing out there.
Yeah, look, the risks just sort of keep piling up. And I guess in a Trump world, it's very easy just to switch off and go white noise. But like there's sort of really at this point, there's like 6 really significant market risks out there at the moment. You've got obviously the Japanese bond yields triggering, and that could, we think back to August 2024, it was a 15% downside move. It was only a blip in the US, but it was still a limit down night in the US as well, but further unwinding in the carry trade because the Japanese are going to be more inclined to bring that money that they've been pushing out to the rest of the world at zero because they've had no interest rates. They've been zero interest rates since the 90s or so. The geopolitics and everything as well. One thing no one's talking about, they only kicked the can down the road on the government shutdown until January 31st. So we're back up for another vote for a government shutdown in 10 days' time. Mm-hmm. Trump power spat, which is never good. And look, Supreme Court decision on the legality of tariffs, whether Trump's overstepped. I think their silence is actually quite telling, but I think it's probably the horses may be bolted now and there's not much they can do about it. Supreme Court decision on Fed appointments as well. And look, when you've got, the world sort of accepted that, a nation, being the US, kidnapped another nation's sovereign, a sovereign nation's president, no matter what you think about him. That hasn't happened since the Second World. May not have even happened in the Second World War. Basically, didn't happen in the Cold War.
Precedent too, right, for China?
Well, and then I think that's why Greenland's escalated because there was a fairly muted silence. I think in terms of, I guess there was no lives lost, but it's a pretty big breach of international law, and I think Trump just likes to keep pressing until he hits a bit of a wall. So I think that's why this Greenland thing's now getting a bit of traction, is because, well, he's sort of going, well, what's next, really?
Yeah, well, he said he's not going to, there's no going back now. It's so interesting when you look at those risks that are piling up, because first thing that comes to my mind is, how is Trump and the people that are surrounding him managing to properly think through and properly address any of those issues when there's so much going on? And that's not a criticism of Trump. That's just a fact. We've all got a certain amount of hours and minutes and decisions that we can make in a day. And that's where things start to get really potentially dangerous and messy.
Well, it's because they're categorically not.
They can't.
No, there is no way on God's green earth. This has been a Trump tactic for, last presidency as well. If he starts a fire, he literally starts another fire somewhere else to distract from it.
Yeah.
And there's only so long before you're just surrounded by fire. And I think we're getting to that point where any one of those things would have triggered like severe market movement outside of Trump. However, it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Basically, if the EU retaliates, if the yen carry trade gets unwound a little bit more. It could be anything, but it's like 6 major issues, like the gravity of those, all at one time. Is you better hope he's like the best magician in the world and can distract forever.
I stole it, credit where credit is due, from Chris Weston's note this morning from Pepperstone. He said investors are taking off those rose-colored glasses, because it feels like that's what we've been in since 2026 started.
Yeah, and then Netflix as well, disappointed, and if you add AI valuations to this, if there's any disappointment this earnings season, the fact that we're not even talking about the fact that there's going to be another government shutdown in 10 days' time is like testament to the fact that there is a lot going on. So I think those gold, silver, precious metals plays will continue. I think gold possibly running out of steam. We switched to gold miners about 6 months ago, and it's about 20% better off. Pretty timely. Global X is launching a silver miners ETF on next Tuesday, which we haven't had access to here in Australia. Which I think we had it, and then we. So you can see here, this is a 5-year chart, 276% in silver, but only 140%. So the miners tend to play catch up towards the end, and we've got a big mining sector, obviously, but we don't have a lot of silver miners. It's mainly.
I was going to say, what's in that?
Wheaton Precious Metals and Pan American Silver or PAS, which we've done on the call for the US call once before, are a big chunk of it, but they're in the Americas basically.
Yeah.
So, and unless you've got access to a US account, you would struggle to get. Like, we've only got a lot of junior miners here overall because silver's been in prices have not been good enough to be bothered to mine. But so you would probably be doing trimming your silver if you're long it, and then maybe starting to move to the miners as well. So good timing from Global X to launch that, because 100%. I think that'll be just a good passive way to get exposure to it. And I think platinum as well still sits at the top of the fifth, the usual range. Gold to platinum ratio is normally 2 to 1. Platinum was actually 6 times more valuable than gold in the 70s, and was priced higher than gold for quite a bit of the 90s and 2000s. So there's a good $2,000 catch up there to go, and 94% of the production in the world is Russia and South Africa, which is the R and the S in BRICS. And if this continues with the geopolitics, we need it for electronics, and we need it for surgical equipment, catalytic converters, and Trump's foes are the only place you can get it. So we saw a massive spike in platinum, palladium in Ukraine when Russia invaded as well. So that's probably got the most amount of upside, I think, at the moment, but it doesn't look like ending anytime soon.
Well, you heard it here first.
Super cycle on its way. Mark, thank you as always. Mark Gardner from MPC Markets. And of course, we discussed Telix. That was the stock of the day.
Yeah, Telix came through with its quarterly. It was after the market closed yesterday. And so Andrew Gagan actually caught up with our experts, Andrew Whiteland from DP Wealth Advisory and Henry Jennings from Markets Today.
Reality is messier than the analysts would have you believe. I think what is interesting, apart from the fact that Telix has disappointed and the stock is down 5.7% this morning, and it is trading on its lows that we've seen for quite some time, is not just Telix, but also we saw it with ARB yesterday and Korea, which unfortunately I hold. With that disappointment, we talk about the February reporting season, and it is important, but January is also important with quarterlies, and the reaction that we've seen so far to some of these quarterlies coming out in January have been quite extreme.
People are betting that the share price is going to fall. Now, on the basis of the result today, and therefore the share price falling away, potentially some of those shorts will start being unwound. People will stop increasing those bets. But when you see that short interest rising, you've got the CEO still selling shares, just meeting guidance, people averse to high PE companies. You stick all that in the melting pot, and at best, this is a hold.
You've worked hard for your money all your life. Now your money needs to work hard for you. Whether you're building, transferring, or drawing down, the right information makes all the difference. At Ausbiz Retire, you'll find the latest news and insights from trusted experts all in one place. Ausbiz Retire is powered by RAN, retirement income done differently.
There you go, Ausbiz Retire, ausbiz.com.au/retire. Back to equities, which we love. Taking a look at some of these market leaders, Jules, there's not a lot to say here. I think we've covered it. Gold, the quarterlies, all contributing to a really solid performance from Emerald Resources, Paladin, Westgold, Evolution, and Bellevue.
Yeah, uranium and gold, all there. All right, let's have a look at the laggards in today's session. Drone Shield, but it has been doing very well over the past week or so, down 8.3%. Telix, we've touched on why. Silex coming under a bit of pressure too. Still some upset in the payments sector. Xero, they're falling below $100. Henry, I think, did warn that could happen this week, earlier in the week, and Zip off by 4.3%.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the small to mid cap end of the market, which is always interesting. I don't think you can beat what happened with Australian Strategic Materials. The board is recommending that shareholders approve the scheme. What is not on there, but I think is really interesting, is Servcorp. I don't know if many of you are across Servcorp, but it has just been a solid performer over many, many, many years. Today, it was out with a profit upgrade, and its shares were up by about 20-something%. Also said a dividend would not fall below 32 cents per share.
And the laggards in the small end of town include these companies on your screen, including Satire, down by 10% to 68 cents.
Okay, so brace yourself, because Davos sort of hits a crescendo through the overnight period. We will hear, yes, from the ECB President Christine Lagarde. We'll also be hearing from the US President Donald Trump. I mean, it's just incredible, some of the rhetoric that's coming from the White House, coming from Trump himself, AI-generated images of him taking over the world. I mean, the guy has a lot of time. He's up at 1:30 a.m., wherever he was, doing all of this. So
I don't think he sleeps much, does he?
Apparently not. He also doesn't drink, because I would say that in other people's cases might have been a bit of drunken social media dialing, but not in his case.
All right, construction spending also out, and some earnings from the likes of J&J and also Halliburton.
Tomorrow here, we've been waiting for this all week. I had a couple of really good conversations today, Juliet, in the 11 o'clock hour in your absence. Ben Picton from Rabobank. He reckons that we should see unemployment lifting to 4.4%. He also is calling for a interest rate cut in 2026. A cut, so very, very contrarian there. But yeah, this is sort of the big economic data release locally for the week.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking to Mibui from AMP at about 11:40 Eastern. After that, also tomorrow, we've got Japan's trade balance, very important amidst what we're seeing in the JGB market, and quarterly reports from the likes of Santos, Fortescue, South 32, Northern Star, and also Net Wealth will give an update. The reason I wasn't on 11 a.m, Nadine, was I was getting my skin cancer check. Just a reminder for everyone living under the harsh Australian sun, we all need to do that.
Okay, so you might have to cover for me one day, because it's been a while. But yes, you're a good girl. Okay, so where did we end up? It looked as if we were going to end above that 87.50 level, which we have done so. We still, at this time, so 4:20 in Sydney, have US futures looking mildly positive as well.
Yeah, and the ASX 200, there you go, Tony will be happy, 33 points, 0.4%, 87.82. So remaining above his worrying point, or I guess technical point he was looking at 87.50, I think.
Yep, that was it.
But it has crossed below its 125-day moving average.
Look, Asian shares are coming under pressure. The global bond rout really stoking that anxiety. I mean, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about that today. Probably a mistake, because you never know if that's the one to watch. But no doubt we'll be discussing Davos when we meet again in the morning.
We will see you from 9:45 a.m. Eastern.